The reason you're not trusting God is because you're trying to trust a God that's not your God. There's no question of the fact, by definition, that you trust someone who has your values, which may be, of course, egocentric, concerned with principally your survival here and so on. May well be that. But any personification of such that values you first as a priority has great value with you. You don't have trouble making such a friend of yours. They're the best ally you can find as you see it. So a very simple thing, people's rejection of God is because they're trying to love a God that's not their present perceived values concerning, themselves. And it does seem that life on this planet is given a priority of self-survival, else nothing can be learned. Your ticket for staying here is that you survive, and therefore can go on to the next lesson here, as opposed to, say, somewhere else. Of course, your understanding of all others is from your point of view, who you are at the minute. You can't help but see them from your point of view, and therefore your point of view of what you would have been when you look at the circumstances that have caused them to have their view. So there's an automatic empathy for life around you. You know when you kill something that it's likely to cause it pain. You block on this because you don't particularly want to cause them pain. You perhaps want to eat the creature. And whatever your values are at present, they may indeed result in you continue to do so, or they may cause you upon reflection to think, don't think I need to kill this creature, I'll eat something else. I don't wish to cause it the pain from my present point of view. Or I don't want to cause it a deprivation of life that it could otherwise enjoy, because I perceive its enjoyment in terms of the way I perceive enjoyment of life. Now, religion has it that we put God first, not actually the creatures and people even around us. Typically, a religion will have a rule about not killing other people. May or may not extend this to creatures by some degree. If you already feel a compassion for other life, then your God will necessarily have the same value. If you don't, well, as I understand it from my point of view, God will lead you through a series of experiences that ultimately changes your view on what your values are, to a concern, empathy, care of others, or rather an enlargement of such to forms of life that at present you may be disregarding. It crosses my mind, am I putting empathy with other forms of life on the planet as my priority in therefore viewing what God's values are? And the answer is yes. I realize that. But I can only love a God that has my values. Ultimately, to put him first in all ways, to put him more than first, but with all one's heart, soul, mind and strength. There's a completeness. Which is, of course, consistent with, specifically, by definition, of God if he is defined to be all-powerful and all-loving. You see, I come with a preconception, therefore, from my childish point of view, you might think, but that I can't love a God that doesn't care for all the other creatures. It's not a problem for me, of course, because God, my God, does. And if I find loving such a God and putting him first results in great blessing to me, as I understand it and see it, then I continue doing so. If it doesn't, then I think circumstances will be prevailing on me to change my values in some way, and therefore my view of God too. So I'll still love him with all my heart, soul, mind and strength, but in a sense you could say it's a different God, with rather different values to the God I started up with. Do you see? And I think this is the pattern for all of us. I sort of think and wish to trust this is the case. Why the optimism, Marshall? I don't know, something to do with my experience here on the planet, and not everyone's that optimistic, of course. But I have a solution for that, and that is that if they choose to dwell on whatsoever's good and lovely, they will be filled with such gratitude and so on, that they're very quick to go the same way as me. That's my hope. In other words, that they will be filled with such hope as well. I can't prove it to you other than taste and see. Does this have the same effect on you? If it does, you won't look back. Bless you. Thank you, Dad.